This is the second part of the UHURUTO split. At the end of the first part, I had talked about Mama Ngina visiting Mzee Daniel Arap Moi at Kabarak. If you check my library on this YouTube channel, you'll find that I was monitoring Kabarak. And actually, there is the tape I said that abortive trip to Kabarak. I was supposed to meet Mzee Daniel Arap Moi during his last days, but it never was to be. So I had a good grasp of what was happening in Kabarak. The time was around either late 2016 or early 2017. Mama Ngina paid a courtesy call to Mzee Daniel Arap Moi, of which she complained on how about Ruto. She said that if it is not for the fact that Uhuru is the head of state and commander-in-chief, Ruto was the most powerful co-president at a rate of, let's say, 52 to 48. So she was not happy. She reminded Mzee Moi about the vice presidents during Mzee Jomo Kenyatta's time and Daniel Toroitich Arap Moi's time. They were powerless. There was Jaramogi Oginga Odinga, Joseph Murumbi, and there was Daniel Arap Moi. And in the second session, there was Mwai Kibaki, Dr. Josephat Karanja, Professor Saitoti, and shortly Musalia Mudavadi. The Constitution, the 2010 the Constitution gives the president, the deputy, the second in charge, power to be a deputy. But the Constitution we had then was that the president was, the vice president was the assistant to the president. Actually, the full powers were with Mbio Koinange and Nicholas Biwott. So she didn't want. And she requested Moi if Ruto could be replaced in the second term by another person. Moi told her that apart from backlash, even if Ruto and his team do not hit back, even if Ruto and his team support Uhuru in the second term, the normal populace will vote against them because it will have sent wrong signals. Moi suggested that, why don't we have Ruto as a running mate? Then, after the elections, Ruto be treated with hostility so that he resigns, and then whoever they wanted, according to the 2010 Constitution, which heavily borrows from the American system, is that you can become the president of Kenya without being elected. Gerald Ford never appeared on a ballot paper. Nixon had another vice president, and then the vice presidency seat became vacant, and Gerald Ford was appointed by Nixon as a vice president. And then Nixon left after Watergate. So it is possible using that system to be the president or even governor without appearing on the ballot paper as a running mate or even as the candidate himself or herself. Now, it was agreed that they behave as if nothing is happening, and after election, such a thing can happen. Ruto decided to visit Moi, and he was turned back because the person who was most likely a beneficiary of Ruto's resignation, that is Gideon Toroitich, knew that by visiting Moi, maybe mzee anaweza ona huruma kidogo akachange his mind or something. And it is also possible that Ruto was aware, because he's a consumer of the national intelligence, he may have been aware that of such a plan. After the elections, before the appeal, if you listen to Duale, when they had been declared winners, and even before the High Court case had been, the Supreme Court case had been taken there were telltale signs that Uhuru did not want Ruto. And then there came this story of Bama, where Ruto pushed Uhuru to contest and such a thing. And that is how it is. Now, how did Raila and Uhuru come in? According to Moi, the only person powerful enough to counter Ruto was Raila. So Moi hated Raila, but he hated Ruto more. So after the story of, you know, Raila was being pushed by his supporters. He was a reluctant, actually the Uhuru Park, according to my assessment, he was being compelled to go there. And when he went there, you know, at first he used to threaten. And then they say that when a madman, I'm not saying Raila is a madman, no. But I'm just saying, if a madman tells you, I'll beat you, don't tell him, Jaribu. Of course, I have due respect to Raila. But when Raila was threatening, he wanted Uhuru to shake, but things got hard. Then he reached an extent where there was no turning back. He just must go to Uhuru Park. Now going to Uhuru Park, the oath was authored by Miguna Miguna. I have not come across the oath itself, but I suspect the content of the oath, what was written and what Raila read, are two different things. I do not know whether Miguna Miguna has been admitted to the Kenyan bar, but the person who administered the oath was TJ Kajwang. Now, TJ Kajwang administered the oath as a commission of oaths. But you can see the domineering figure of Miguna Miguna in that picture. But Raila played Miguna Miguna a trick. Raila played Miguna Miguna a trick in that whatever was written, according to me, is not, he altered something. Where Miguna Miguna had drafted, Raila, I think where Miguna Miguna had written that I, Raila Odinga, the president of Kenya, Raila was clever enough at the nick of the moment to say, I, being the people's president. Another trick I see Raila did, if you listen to the tape clearly, Raila says, he does not mention Odinga. He says Odiga. And you know, by law, if he's taken to court, he could say Odiga and Odinga are two different people. Now, it reached a time when both Raila needed Uhuru and Uhuru needed Raila. Raila knew that any court would not convict him, but this thing about being taken to court for long sessions and is getting old would bring a lot of problems to him. And Uhuru knew that the way Ruto had behaved, things would not work out well. He would even be a more ceremonial person. This thing they are cheating about, Libondo saying that the plane was to be bombed, that is pure nonsense. And this thing about Raila being offered half the cabinet by Ruto, that is nonsense. This story, all these stories are even vote of no confidence in Uhuru, that is nonsense. But Ruto wanted to make it so much that by the time elections are called, he'll be so powerful that it would be just a formality. So Uhuru and Raila needed each other. Raila knew that he was going to have problems, legal problems, and Uhuru, you already know. So two ladies met, and this thing was planned between two ladies. Mama Ida was worried about the problems her husband would get, especially he was not growing any younger. And somehow Mama Ida and Mama Ngina met, and that is how it came about, the story of handshake. This thing about meeting and staying for half an hour without it, that is just a story. But the initiators of this was Mama Ngina and Mama Ida. So when they planned the whole thing, and then that is how it came to be that way. And that is the second and final part of the split, UHURUTO split.